Hello everybody, my name is Rudy. You're watching Alpha Investments. Recently, it's come to my attention there's a lot of drama in the card grading world with PSA regarding some issues. And, well, it all started when actually the professor, Tolarian, had texted me saying, Rudy, are you seeing what's going on with this PSA signature related thing? And I was not aware of this. I was away for a few days and now I'm back. And then I got a lot of patron messages asking about this. And so I took about 2 minutes worth of research and effort into this. I wanted to take a look, and obviously people wanted my opinion since I'm involved with the card grading and Premier Card Grading, PCG. 69% ownership is my stake in the USA operations over here. And people wanted my opinion about this whole situation. So buckle up, Buttercup, sit down, and take a seat and listen here. I'll give you, first let's go over what happened. So pretty much a card was auctioned off by a big auction house online, and it was for an Underground C, I believe Beta, not Alpha, Beta Underground C. And it was a signed card by old Rob Alexander. I met the guy, real nice guy. And obviously it was certified and slabbed by PSA in a PSA case, and it had the authentic auto PSA DNA for the autograph by Rob Alexander, of course. And yes, the autograph and the signature is authentic. And no, even looking at the card, before the individual even showed his pictures, the first thing I saw was the auction house website pictures. The card was obviously fake. At least in my, I can't say obviously, a lot of people, if you haven't handled all these, or if this is the first time you want to buy a graded card, you may not be aware of some of the little details and the little signature marks and attributes and little, the little registration marks that make a card real versus fake. It's the little things. So what happened was this individual bid and bought the card as if it was a real Underground C, since it was slabbed by PSA as a authentic auto. Well, this is where it gets kind of gray area weird, because technically it does look like the slab is authenticating only the autograph and nothing to do with the card itself. Now, that's where it gets a little uncomfortable, because in reality, obviously the correct thing to do is you don't slab anything counterfeit, period. If you accidentally slab it counterfeit, you're going to have to buy it back, take it off the market, destroy it. You're going to have to undo, reverse the transaction. Depending on the details of that situation, people involved are going to have to step in. That's just, it is what it is, depending on the circumstances. Maybe the grading company has to step in, maybe the seller has to step in, maybe the buyer and the seller have to reverse the transaction, maybe the grade, depending, there's a lot of variables, so you can't really put fault on one thing. Now, technically, the slabbed PSA case states authentic autograph. That's all they authenticated. The card has no numerical grade. We at, Premier Card Grading, PC, it's the same thing. We have the same situation. We only slab and authenticate with an A, authentic, if it's got modifications. An altered card, artist sketch, signature. These are all things that, well, we use authentic slabs and authentic labeling for. I think in the last 6 months, I think I've seen maybe 6, 7 orders, at least attempted to come through, PCG here in Florida, that had counterfeit magic cards. Most of the time, it's old magic cards, dual lands, cradles, Mox diamonds, sliver queens, and yes, many of them are. I've seen multiple, usually beta cards, that people try to slip in the order to see if we would, grade and slab and authenticate it. Usually higher end stuff like that gets flagged, and I always personally take a look when a card like that comes through. And yes, I've seen it. We've had orders come in where there's 20 vintage magic cards, and it's been flagged saying, Rudy, please review. And I don't grade the card, but I want to make sure they're authentic. And there's been times that it was either questionable, trimmed, inking, or just straight up Chinese counterfeit, and simply put, we reject it. We lean on the safe side, because one of the biggest dangers is you don't want a Black Lotus or a Mox or some sort of Power 9 or a Library of Alexandria, or dual lane. We don't want that slabbed with your name attached to it. That's kind of a dangerous thing. So yes, because the problem is with this is, even though the PSA slab is only authenticating the autograph, it's you shouldn't really go out of your way to slab a fake card. Number two, the public is going to assume the card is real. So the assumption is going to be in place, just using common sense and approach, that a card inside of a PSA slab will be authentic. Even if you're not authenticating the card. Okay, that's, again, we've had issues where customers have been upset at, PCG because people have literally gotten mad and sent messages to customer service, and it's gone to me and escalated, or people have messaged me saying, Rudy, I sent in an artist sketched, artist proof, and I got it back from PCG. It was slab, but it didn't get graded. There's no numerical grades. There's no subgrades. What'd I do wrong? And I said, dude, you're not going to get a numerical graded score on a card that has a signature on the front, that has all kinds of writing and modifications on the back. You cannot properly assign a numerical score to a card that has modifications. You cannot properly assign a surface grade to a card that has the surface modified. If the whole card has all kinds of sketches and drawings, probably a cool fucking card, but I cannot have a grader say, well, Rudy, I need you to review this one for me. It's an expensive one. It's a beta artist proof of, a dual lance, something really expensive. And I'm like, if the whole back has a beautiful artist sketch by Rob Alexander, I cannot have the grader say, well, this is a grade 9 surface, or this is a 9.5 surface. The whole surface is covered in a beautiful custom artwork. There's no way to grade the surface when the surface has been changed. That's kind of the point of this, Now, if you have a collector's edition card and it has clipped corners, you have a modified card. The card can be authenticated, but you cannot grade the corners if the corners have been cut with scissors. You cannot grade the edges with a numerical grade if some of the edges have been touched up with a black Sharpie to make it look cleaner and less whitening on a black bordered card. So there are things that some people may not want to hear, but there are certain guidelines that have to be followed. If a card is graded a 9.5 and gets a gold label, I don't want to be able to pick up the card and there's a dog bite in the middle of the card. If the card is graded a 9, I can, or an 8.5 or in the 8s, I should be able to pick up the card and say, oh, I can see why it's an 8. I can see the mark in the corner. Oh, there's obvious. If it starts getting into that 9s and 9.5s and it's gold, you better be able to hold the card right here and say, wow, that's beautiful. There's certain basic guidelines, and then the details that the graders and things have to use have to have some sort of system in place, okay? It cannot be, Sally's having a good day, everybody gets 10s. Rudy's pissed, everybody gets 1s. You cannot have a system like that. That kind of system will fail. It's not what people want to hear, but you have to have a system in place that doesn't use the emotion, okay? People will be upset. And now this is a great example here. This is just kind of a poor judgment call on PSA. Technically, there's nothing illegal about it. Technically, it's not wrong, but it's a shitty thing. Because the legal detail is authentic autograph on the card. Now, should an authenticated autograph, should the card still, be authenticated, that it's at least real? I think so. Technically, it's a gray area, but it's a bad customer experience. It's a bad thing. It shouldn't have been slabbed. That's my opinion on it. In my opinion, whoever, if it was on consignment, the transaction needs to be reversed. The card needs to go back to the seller, and the buyer needs to be refunded, and that's it. Technically, you can crack it up a PSA slab, you can leave it, or resell it as just an autograph of Rob Alexander. That's all it's worth. It's a fake card. It's not worth anything. That card is worth what Rob Alexander charges to sign cards at a Magic event. If he charges you $20 to sign a card, that card is worth $20. Maybe you can add $10 for $20 for a grading fee. Wait, how much is PSA grading? Holy fuck. You guys are crazy. That's really what it's worth. The card itself has no value. It's a counterfeit fake card. It's if I take literally a piece of paper and scribble something on it, it's worth the value of the signature. Okay, it's not an authentic, original Magic cardstock item. So that's why the whole thing is weird. Now, if the customer wants a refund, the customer should be allowed to get a refund. The customer is required, or should be required, to return the card to the seller. The seller did not do anything wrong. The PSA is, again, I don't think it's the right move, but technically the card is labeled as, an autograph that was authenticated. Card isn't graded, the card isn't authenticated. It's a very confusing, poor product that was done on that particular example. It's just a weird example. Look, I'm still a huge PSA fan. I've always been. I've been grading and working with PSA since 2004. This for 20 years. I haven't graded anything since 2018, 2019 with any company. It's been a long time since I've graded stuff, especially now with their fees. Oh my God, it's crazy. So that's my response to this whole situation. I don't think it's as dramatic, but that's the internet. The internet wants to lean in to drama and OMG and wild things. In reality, PSA grades outrageous amounts of millions of cards, and this card is just a goofy example of a fake card that was put into a slab to be verified in the signature, and somehow that's what they did. As long as the customer can return it, get a refund, the seller can keep his card, he can relist it as just an autographed, counterfeit card. That's up to him. That's really about it. I don't think PSA should have slabbed it, but technically they did not say the card was authentic, and that's why it gets in the gray area. It leads to a bad experience because you're making it very vague, and it's confusing because the public's going to believe it's real because of the wording on the card, but it's not a good customer experience. It's something that shouldn't be done. I don't believe any company out in the world should grade counterfeit cards, period. I think counterfeit cards are great game pieces for the game piece army, and that is where they belong. Now, when you cross the line, when you take counterfeit cards and you're trying to slab them, to me, that's a big deal. Because the only reason to grade a card is because you want to preserve it. You want an exact condition assigned to it to make it easy to buy and sell and preserve the condition for the future. If it's a counterfeit card that's only worth a couple pennies, there is no reason to do that because you're not trying to preserve a game piece. You're not trying to sell or flip. You shouldn't be. You're not trying to sell it off as if a real card is someone who's unaware of the details. That's why I'm not really a fan of that kind of thing, because it can lead to very bad behavior and people doing that. So to answer questions, number one, no, I have no issues with counterfeit fake cards. They make great game pieces for people who believe everything should be free and the people who just don't want to spend a lot of money on rare collectibles. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe you truly just want to build an old school deck, play with your friends on Friday when you play Strip Magic. Knock yourself out. But it's a very fine line because people tend to start drifting on wanting to trade or sell the fake cards, and that's when it gets very gray area. No, I don't think, number three, no, I don't think you should be able to slab fake items, whether it's a fake Pokemon, fake Magic, fake anything. I just don't think that's a huge no-no, because now you're attaching a company's name to a knockoff item. And that knockoff item is pretty much a counterfeit or an intellectual property, ripoff of somebody else's company, as somebody else's artist, as somebody else who put the time, resources into R&D, design, development, producing and selling the item. So that's kind of my perspective of the whole thing. I think the overblown drama of the whole thing is typical internet social media. It's really not that big of a deal. The guy should just send the card back, get a refund, the seller can relist the card for sale, keep it himself, crack out of the case, I don't really care. That's really all it should be. How this became this dramatic social media post at all these fancy MySpace and OnlyFans websites, I don't fucking know. That's just the internet. And that's the thing that makes me roll my eyes, is how people just get all wound up and dramatic over one little thing. And again, the guy just send it back, get a refund, move on. That's really, it doesn't need to be this dramatic social media thing. But that's what happened. I guess a bigger question would be, was that an accident by PSA? Or do they actually, is that just how they do it? Like if I took from the Hopes and Dreams Rudy box over the years and took like 20 fake cards and got them all signed by an artist and or what if I just signed the fake cards and sent them in myself as signature Rudy YouTube Alpha Investments guy? Are they going to just authenticate only on a fake card and I'll have a stack of counterfeit PSA cards in a slab? I guess that's the real question, was this a one-off fluke, or is this something PSA would normally do? I guess that's the bigger question to it, but that's all I have to say. I really think this whole thing, I know I'm not supposed to promote other grading companies outside of the grading company that I have ownership in and PCG and everything, but look, at the end of the day, a company like PSA and most of these big companies, they grade a ton of cards. We all do. Everyone does. I mean, PCG, we're not grading millions yet. We'd like to get there. But we are in a positive trend. We are grading and growing on a month over month for the last 6 to 9 months that we've been running the Florida operation. It's been really great. It's been a great experience, fun, and everything about it's been very positive. But all these grading companies, it's like, if PSA sends out 1 million cards in a month. Okay, let's just even million. Let's make up a number. And a couple cards like this become this dramatic example, and all these people, dogpile and jump on the conversation. Oh, this is why grading's a scam. This is why it starts to shift and meander and tilt into this weird side conversation and side dialogue of all the grading's a scam. It's all bad. This and that. All these things, and that's the problem with social media. It takes. No one's making posts and discussing the other 999,000 PSA cards that are graded in a month. And, even if 1% of the PSA cards have problems out of 1 million cards, sure, that's 10 million. That's 10 million. That's 10,000 accidents a month. Okay, wow, that's a lot of screw-ups and a lot of bad slabs, Rudy. How can you be okay with that? Okay, but that's 990,000 cards a month that are properly slabbed and properly graded. And people don't make posts about that. When we send back all these orders every day from PCG here out of Florida, and we send them all off, we don't get daily messages. If we ship out and we complete, a couple orders a day. So it's like, I don't know, what does that come out to be? 100, 200, 300 orders, 1,000 cards. Let's just say if we send out 1,000 cards, okay, a month. Let's just use an even round number. Okay, let's make it even. I'm pretty sure it's more than that. I think it's a couple thousand. Let's just say an even 1,000. Okay, if we send out an even 1,000, okay, the only thing you're going to hear about on the internet or social media or the angry person is going to be the guy with the one card who something happened. He didn't like his grade. Maybe the turnaround time was supposed to be 13 days and he didn't get it back till 14 days. Maybe the post office made a mistake. Maybe the grader, he felt the grader was too strict, or the grader was too soft, or maybe he didn't like the slab. Maybe, he expected a gold laser engraved label when he got a silver. There's going to be multiple reasons. And that's the story you're going to hear online. You're going to hear about the person who had the bad PSA experience, the one angry person who's going to bash all over of Rudy and PCG Florida. You're going to have that, but you're not going to hear about PSAs other than 990,000 cards in a month that people are happy. You're not going to hear about the other 999 cards of PCG Florida that people, are happy with, or send us pictures of it in a display case or, in their collectible area. You're not going to hear about that, okay? So remember, folks, when you see these posts about something stupid with card grading, this time with PSA this month, maybe next month will be Beckett, maybe a month after that will be CGC, maybe after that it'll be us, and it's always going to be something. It's just going to spin the wheel. What LGS is going to get bashed and thrown under the bus this month? What LGS canceled an order? What LGS overcharged? Wait, Rudy did what? It's going to rotate, okay? All this stuff runs through cycles of whatever's the drama thing of the week, the month, the year, whatever. And just remember, folks, you don't hear about that silent majority of customer base that doesn't have anything to complain about. They get there, they send in a card to us. They send in a pack of 20 cards. They flip through them and go, oh, wow, cool. I got a couple 9.5s. I got some 9s. Oh, I got 110. Oh, I got a bunch of 8s and 7s. That person's not going to go online and say, I cannot believe that. I slipped Rudy a free Taco Bell gift card and he didn't give me all 10s. You're going to run into things, and those are the stories you're going to hear about. You're not going to hear about all the normal business activity that happens every day. And that goes with everything. It goes with everything in the world. Oh, Rudy, don't go to that restaurant. I heard from a friend of a friend whose ex-boyfriend used to date Chuck Norris's stepsister. They don't make good hamburgers there. No way. Are you serious? Yeah, Rudy. 43 years ago, Chuck Norris took his ex-girlfriend there. They didn't put cheese on the burger. Ever since then, I tell everyone, never go. You run it, almost becomes old wives' tales. It almost becomes internet copy pasta and fake stories, So I just want to share. Rudy rant over. Overall, I just think it was a bad judgment call on PSA. Customer just needs a refund. Customer also needs to take the card, send it back to the seller, leave it as is, okay, and let the seller relist it as an autographed Rob Alexander, non-authentic card. And maybe that card still sells for $50 or $100 or something, But past that, that's really the end of the story. It's really, I wish the internet wouldn't get so emotional on things like this. It's just, you know, as long as at the end of the day, the transaction is completed or the transaction is just reversed, you know, whatever it may be, keep it as simple as that, you know. I think past that thing, just the internet just, it likes to pour in a bunch of emotion and just make it confusing and not focus on really the important facts. And that is, chances are, by the time you watch this video, the customer probably already mailed it back, already got a refund. The guy listing the card or on consignment probably got his card back. And that's the end of the fucking story. And people get so emotionally attached and involved, like it's like they're involved and somebody took their ex-wife, and people get all this crazy stuff, and it's really just not that big a deal. You need to take the facts, we talk about what goes on, and that's the story. You know, it's what we try to do on this channel. I try to tell you guys my opinion when I think things are going to go up. I try to report when things are tanking. I try to tell you guys when something crazy is happening. You know, and that's it. I guess thanks for watching.